It is Tuesday.
You're
You know what that means, but I ain't gonna say it out loud. This is a PG show. But you know what Tuesday it is. It's my favorite Tuesday. Favorite day of the week, if you know what I mean. Yes, you are now listening to the sound of Sports Reports as ordered. And tonight, we are 2 days away. The NFL draft is upon us. What rumors are out there? What do we believe? What's going to happen? I'm excited. The NBA playoffs. When all else fails, just find a referee to blame. Chris Paul ain't even here. And we're still talking about the ref. Wow. And of course, you know we're going to get this thing started with Get It Off My Chest. So with me, I have the one and only Even Kill of VA, representing New Jerusalem. He said he was born down in Texas. Dedicated father, dedicated veteran. He is
absolutely
Mr. Logic. And this serves as your reminder. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then you got me. I, if you will. Let's be grammatically correct. It's I, your resident, unorthodox statistician, going left so much you thought I was southpaw. And it's all incoming, but I'm moving out the way, unlike Devin Haney. So Sports Reports is ordered is here. Let's get this thing started. Yeah, Devin Haney, man. Like, you know, I was telling people the other day, like, I learned in the Lomachenko fight, he doesn't have a plan B. Like, he just does what he does. Like, that's the thing about fighters like Floyd Mayweather. Like, some people might call it boring or whatever, but like, he takes a few rounds to kind of download your script or whatever. Like, Canelo's been doing that lately. Crawford does that. And then come round 5 or 6, they just break you apart. You know, the Haney just does what he does. So when Garcia was hitting him and doing all these things, he got knocked down, and I think the pride took over. And he was just like, nah, I'm coming back.
Yeah, he whatever the game plan was, I don't think he had the power to compete with Garcia. I thought he was a lot smaller than Ryan. Then I saw a couple of like face-offs. I'm like, okay, maybe he's about the same height. I believe I was talking to someone I can remember. They said, "Oh yeah, Haney's like 5'11". I was like, really? I thought he was shorter than that.
Well, see, and that's why I need somebody that really follows boxing. I need to hit up my guy. Shout out to Curry Doja, aka Psycho Sid. That's my boxing aficionado. I need people to explain this to me because I saw a bunch of people talking about how since Ryan Garcia didn't meet the weight and he was 3 pounds over, he had an advantage. But when I was looking at the fight, I was like, but Haney's like 160 right now. Like
yeah, but I think with Ryan, the 3.5 pounds, it might have given, because you sent me a picture of the Tank Davis fight and how he just looked smaller.
Right, because
I think it might have just given him an advantage. Like, you know what? I don't care that I don't make 140. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, my son, when he played football in the 8th grade year, like, he had to be under like 145. Right. He was like 160 like throughout the summer. He just got tall. He was like 5'9", 5'10", you know, as a 13-year-old.
Right.
And it was stressful at practice in August when he was trying to like get down and make weight so he can run the ball or play quarterback, whatever the case may be. But then one day after practice, he was like, yo, you know what? I don't care. I just want to play football. I don't care about the weight. I just want to play football. And from that moment, I calmed down because now I'm not stressing him about the weight. His coaches calmed down because they're not stressing him about the weight. They're like, okay, cool. We'll just have to get one of these other kids that's going to make weight to run the ball. And then he taught that kid how to hit the hole and everything else. So he went from being a stressed potential quarterback, running back to a leader. And then I went from cool. You want to get something to eat after practice? Because we would swing by Wawa. So like it just made it made our day much easier and less stressful. And then so I think that's what happened. Ryan just was like, you know what? I'm not gonna make 140. I'm just gonna beat him anyway.
Right. But that's why I said that's what throws me off, because I know that these guys, they get back on their regular life after the weigh-in or whatever. And like I think they said he was like close to 160 like during the fight. And that's why like I said, that I understand that the 3 pounds is an advantage. But I think Haney was still the bigger dude, though, so that's why it just threw me off a little.
I read something that Ryan Garcia was drinking beer.
He was. He drank beer at the weigh-in.
Like,
shout out to Mayorga. That's my guy.
If I would have known that, I probably would have been a little bit more. I just didn't like the antics.
Right.
All the pre-social media stuff. Like, I don't know who coordinated that. I just thought it was kind of Bush League and juvenile, but other than that, it was a good fight. Like I had a long weekend because I went to Philly, so we were gambling in the Philadelphia casino Friday night. I left there like midnight. I got home like close to 1. I got up like 6 because my middle son had a voice acting session at NYU, so we got up, got dressed, caught the train in the city. Well, the session was closed. It just was like NYU students and him. Mm-hmm. So then I just ended up walking around the city. Me and a good friend of mine. So me and everybody just walked around the city. And so I walked. I'm like, oh, we're close to the Manhattan Bridge. I'm like, oh, Pier 17's on here. Let's walk here. Ended up walking like 5 total miles that day. So then I got back and I'm like, oh, the fight's tonight. So the fight came on for me at like midnight. I am dead tired. I had been up all day, but I'm like, you know what? I'll watch this fight. Maybe it'll end quick. And then it got good. And I'm sitting there looking at the time like it is 12:25. I am dead tired. My ankles are hurting. I'm like, I'm watching this fight. And I'm glad because it was a couple of times I was like, you know what? I think Haney's got it. I was going to lean over, and then he caught him, and he dropped him. I was like, now I got to watch the rest of I got to watch the next round, see what happened. And then it just kept going. So it was a good fight. Shout out to boxing for making a good fight. Just don't force it. Now
this man said, let's run it back, Tank.
Don't run the Tank fight.
Well, Tank got a big one coming up soon. He's fighting Frank Martin in June, so that's going to be a big one.
Now Tank can get that fight. Now maybe Haney Shakur. Maybe you get that fight. Maybe Haney gets his bounce back.
Maybe and Garcia.
Did you see Garcia's dad in the hallway cussing at Eddie Hearn?
Yeah.
The British promoter. Then he was like, bones in his. And then Ryan's dad was like, word? He came back like the tone switched so quick. So it was like, maybe y'all said you get these 3 fights this year. Now you're rolling.
All right.
Now you're rolling. I don't want
we're getting closer. We're getting closer to our super card idea that we talked about last year.
Get everybody on it. Get it. Make it huge.
Yeah. Make it WrestleMania.
People will probably spend $169 if you had a Wilder Joshua undercard, Garcia Tank main event. Like, I mean, if you just kind of
rematch, you know what I mean?
Yo, just put it all out there. $179.99
WrestleMania, baby, to the boxing ring
in Vegas. Yeah,
but yeah, get it off my chest, short and sweet. Like I always say, I know I always come across as upset, but it doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be positive. Sometimes it can just be. So tonight, as I'm sitting here watching Phoenix get bent over again, I was sitting here thinking about the Clippers and the Mavs and, how everybody overreacts to one game in a series and now the Mavs are dead. But I'm going to overreact for a second, but in a different way. Because I saw that Kawhi Leonard is playing tonight. Thank goodness. Always great, happy to have a great player back. But the way that I'm looking at this thing, because I'm 2'5", like somebody on that Clippers team, whether it's Kawhi or not, is going to miss some time in the playoffs, especially if they get past this series. Somebody's going to miss a game somewhere down the road. So if I'm the Clippers, I make Dallas make me play Kawhi. What I mean by that is you got to win a game. So if I come out and go up 2-0 tonight, game 3 in Dallas, Kawhi sitting again. You know what I'm saying? Until you beat me. If you cut it to 2-1, now I'm going to bring Kawhi back for game 4. If I go up 3-0, I don't even need Kawhi for this series potentially. So I'm going to get him all the rest that he needs off of these injections and
Yoga
just
and
go from there.
Pilates.
Yeah, like, so, just something I was thinking about as I saw, because I know Maxey was questionable last night with the illness. Embiid is always questionable, whether it's his knees or his heart. So, I just figured that with Kawhi, we just know how this story plays out. So try to get him as much rest as possible if you're a fan of load management. So that's what I wanted to get off my chest. Just short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Mine's going to be short and sweet as well. Let me move my mic to the side so I can show everybody. Matt Ryan.
I'm so icy.
Matty Ice has officially retired as an Atlanta Falcons, signed a one-day contract. Officially retired. 15 years in the league, 14 with the Falcons. Literally his first pass in the NFL, first game, first snap, touchdown. Michael Jenkins. I was weary of the pick because he was a Boston College guy from Philadelphia. I was a Virginia Tech fan. Boston College had beaten Virginia Tech that year before on a crazy comeback pass across the field. It was nuts. And it kind of like ruined Virginia Tech's chances at a better bowl. So I was like, yo, I can't believe we drafted this guy, 3rd overall. And then he proceeds to go out and throw for 62,000 yards, 381 touchdowns, 124 career wins, 2016 MVP. Everyone's going to talk about the 28-3 and the blown lead and everything else. But then came back the next year, went back to the playoffs, beat the Rams at home. And then the following season followed that up with he went 38-7 touchdown interception ratio in his MVP year. 2 years later, 35-7. So it wasn't a fluke year. Shanahan was already coaching the 49ers, so you can't say it's because of Shanahan. Constant professional, was not put in the best situation by Dimitrov and Blank and all these other guys who are in the front office at Atlanta. Shout out to Arthur Smith. He tried the 1 year, but it didn't work. He went to Indy, did his thing, but Matt Ryan is probably I know I love Vic. Shout out Vic, hometown hero. So he has a different place in my Falcons heart because I literally was in high school with Vic, walking the same hallways. But Matt Ryan, he changed how people view Atlanta Falcons football. I know it's up and down and everything else, but I know a lot of organizations that would trade the run that Matt Ryan had for the guy that they had in place for 6, 7, 8, 10 years. There's been a lot of teams that didn't make championship games. There's been a lot of turnover at the quarterback position. He was a constant professional. He was always there, 14 years. So shout out to Matt Ryan, Atlanta Falcons, retire number 2. Do not give it to anybody this year. Do not give it to anybody next year. Retire it soon. I don't want you handing this number out. No one wears 2 anymore for the Atlanta Falcons. Shout out, Matt Ryan. Thank you very much.
So are you saying that Matt Ryan contributed to a winning culture?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that play that you talk about against Virginia Tech, that was the play that made me become a Matt Ryan fan. I was watching that game live, Thursday Night Football on ESPN. Boston College.
Thursday Night Football ESPN used to be the move. Yes.
Yeah. They were number 2 or number 3 in the polls, so Boston College was put on the map, and we ain't heard from him since. But that was the play. I used to tell everybody Matt Ryan's my favorite quarterback, and that was why, because of that play against Virginia Tech, coming through in the clutch in Blacksburg. So it's just one of those things.
Back across the field, end of the
Yeah.
game. I mean, it's just like everything that he started to show us in the league is like, because we talk about, because we're going to roll right into the draft here shortly. So you're going to talk about, hey, what do I expect out of a quarterback? And I know people use certain benchmark quarterbacks as like, or these greatest quarterbacks as the benchmark for everybody else. It's not realistic. It's not going to be. I don't think there's going to be that many guys that make it to 10 Super Bowls. I don't think there's probably going to be another guy like Mahomes who sits for a year and then goes to 6 straight AFC Championship games. It probably won't be another Montana, a guy like Bradshaw that is just great. Like certain guys just have a different impact on football. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about these, like as we talk about these guys in the draft. I need you to be good, and I need you to be good enough so where we can keep the team together. Because a lot of times that's what it comes. If Mac Jones plays better football, Bill Belichick doesn't lose his job in New England. Like if he just makes better plays in the moments when it's time to make plays. Because you got to think about, like, for instance, New England's drafting third. There was a game against Miami. They were down 8. If Mac can make a couple more plays and make that drive flow, they don't have to get a tip pass that got tipped to an offensive lineman, and he's trying to fight to get a 4th down conversion. Mm-hmm. If you hit the other route, like if they had another guy who was on the same page with Mac Jones, whether it's Juju or one of these other guys that they had, if they're on the same page now, the ball's moving, 1st down, get the touchdown, you get momentum. He doesn't throw the pass short in Germany. Little things like that, because if you play well in your position, you can keep your staff together. Like as far as like your core staff, your head coach, GM, people like that. But if you play poorly, someone's got to go. And normally it's the coach and the GM, which can completely disrupt your entire learning process.
And that's where I struggle with fans, because, you got to be loyal to your logic so that your logic is loyal to you. Absolutely. Because a lot of people were talking about, well, we can't judge Bryce Young because he doesn't have any help. Or, this quarterback, they didn't build around him. So therefore, we don't know what he's truly capable of. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, when did New England put anything around Mac Jones? I mean, they had the great defenses because that's what they do. But looking at their, say wide receiver room.
When they had a defensive court, when they had 2 ex-Patriot coaches that just lost their head coaching jobs come back to New England, and the defensive coordinator became the offensive coordinator, and the special teams coach that just lost his job in New York became like the secondary offensive coordinator, you knew then that was not going to be a good move. They should have just gone out and gotten an offensive coordinator from one of these high-powered college offenses and let the special team coach do what he does and defensive coach do what he does.
Yeah, I think they gave up on him too early. Not saying that he was going to become a Pro Bowler or anything like that, but this is the stuff that we have to think about when we look at the NFL draft, because normally, these young quarterbacks are going to go to bad teams that didn't make a playoff, or that are single-digit wins. So we have to factor that in. What franchise are they going to go to, for one? For two, what is that franchise's track record of surrounding quarterbacks with talent, or else it's just going to be the same history repeating itself. So, like, when I look at somebody like
chaos.
So when I look at somebody like J.J. McCarthy, for example, everybody talks about how he's a winner. He only lost 1 game in college. He threw 2 pick sixes in that game that people forget about, but it happened. If he gets drafted by, say, Washington at number 2,
cool.
Like, what has Washington done? Now, granted, new GM and everything in place, but what has Washington done to show that they support their quarterbacks? This is the first time we're seeing it from Chicago, where Chicago's putting weapons all around the place. Whereas a lot of us say to
I think
ourselves,
Washington has weapons. I think the issue with Washington was, yes, Scary Terry, Samuel. Who's your third wide receiver?
Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson. You just had a coach that I didn't feel was going to maximize what they could provide on the field. Sam Howell was leading the NFL in yards for a good chunk of the year. It just didn't translate to wins.
Well, there's probably once or twice in the last, I'll call it 10 to 12 years, that I feel Washington had either a healthy offensive line or the quarterback wasn't fighting for his life. So that's what I mean. Like, so even outside of the weapons, you still need the protection as well, which is why when I look at
coaching, or is that players?
It could be both. It could be both. It could just be a bad combination that turns into disaster. Like, for example, we talk about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and you pointed out, like, hey, these dudes hold on to the ball, though. So the offensive line could be decent, but if he's going to hold the ball for an extra second and a half.
Yeah, you don't have 4.5 seconds.
Right. So that could be a part of it, too. But, I also know that Washington lost Trent Williams, with that whole ordeal. And I just feel ever since then, the offensive line just hasn't looked good. Besides the fact that they've been playing young quarterbacks and all this and all that, like, just hasn't looked good. So that's why I'm interested at number 2. Do you go Jaden Daniels from the standpoint of he'll get out of the pocket? Like, is he going to hold the ball too long because he can run? 2, is he going to run or be able to keep plays alive that makes the line look better in a way that people thought Justin Fields would?
I think with him at 2, I like that because he's just a playmaker. Not necessarily because he can run. It's just that he's seasoned. He was in college for a long time, and he got better every year. And I know I keep beating this horse. I'm gonna beat this horse until it wakes up. The way he responded to his teammates, his brothers, treating him when he was packing up his locker in Arizona State. I haven't heard a single pundit bring up like the level of maturity you have to just simply pack up your stuff when all the people who used to be your boys are literally recording you. They trashed your stuff. Now they're verbally accosting you. And for him to have like the wherewithal and the maturity, that was like 3 years ago. I think that was like maybe it might have been like the COVID year or just after that. So for him to have that sense of maturity, that sense of self, that groundedness, to where it's like, you know what, this is the reason why I'm not staying here, and just simply pack his stuff up and then go to LSU and get better every year to the point where he had a better year than Joe Burrow had when Joe Burrow won the Heisman, as far as like big plays and things like that. Yeah, the wins and losses come and go. Their defense was not great, but I just feel like when you have that playmaker, the growth, the size is one thing. You give them 8 or 12 protein shakes a week, some steaks, maybe some gumbo. Get them something. Get them to DC Soul Food.
Don't turn them into Zion.
I mean, put 8 to 12 more pounds on them. This is similar to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, his body in college, his year he won the Heisman, and the year after that, compared to how he looks now, he still plays the same. He's just a little bigger. It's going to come a time. We'll go basketball. Look at Giannis. Still plays the same. He's just a little bigger. Yeah. So you'll have the opportunity to make a big. I think it's like sometimes. I mean, it's like electricity. Electricity takes the path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
You got the number one quarterback going to Chicago. You need a quarterback in Washington. Well, according to the Heisman and all the awards that you get, he is the best available quarterback after Caleb Williams. Just take
So New England is interesting because they've been the talk of all trade rumors. Even though when I from the Patriots look outside or outside in, the Patriots need a quarterback too. Because they got rid of Mac Jones, they brought back Jacoby Brissett, and they have my guy Bailey Zappi. So like you would think that they want a quarterback or that they would need a quarterback. They got a new head coach, that
but
now
they
it's
have
time,
a Bill Belichick defensive-minded protege head coach
who might want to start Jacoby Brissett and
and
go
trade
9-8.
three. He'll trade, like for instance, like a hypothetical rumor we were talking about. So my hypothetical is Minnesota gives them 11, 23, a third, and a one next year to go from 11 to 3. Now, if I'm New England, you give me 11, I can still get Michael Penix Jr. I'm still in play. Because if you give me 11 to 23, I'm still in play for.
You can get something at 11 and get Bo Nix later.
Or I can take 11 and move back up to 6 and get McCarthy, but I still got 23.
So I think the draft gets interesting around LA, around the Chargers.
5?
Yeah, because I feel like if Arizona doesn't trade out, I feel
Why
like
not 4 though?
Well, that's what I was about to say. I think with Arizona, you just take Marvin Harrison or Neighbors because Kyler Murray needs a new target. You lost Rondale Moore, you lost Hollywood Brown. The Cardinals need a receiver. Like DeAndre Hopkins isn't there anymore.
Right.
And if you're going to ride this Kyler Murray thing out,
you need to give him a weapon.
You need to give him a weapon.
All right, you're the Arizona GM. You're sitting at 4. I'm the Broncos GM. Drake May goes. No, JJ McCarthy goes 3rd.
Okay.
New England goes bananas. They take JJ at 3rd. Drake May sitting there at 4. Denver calls. What do you want? You're the Arizona. I'm at 12. You're the Arizona GM. You're sitting at 4. JJ went 3rd. Drake May's out there. Denver just calls you. Mm-hmm. What do you want from him?
I want the world. Because the Cardinals are.
Fuck, hold on, Matt. Excuse my language. I don't think Denver has anything to give you.
Well, that's true too. But but Arizona's not that. Maybe it's the Raiders then. But
the Raiders.
But Arizona's not that.
You want 2 firsts, 3 firsts, 2 2s, 2 1s?
I mean, I think it would have to start with 2 firsts at least.
So give me so if I'm the Raiders call you, your Arizona sitting at 4. Not in division, not your conference. You're completely like whatever you want to do, dog.
13 might be too far back though, because like as we map this out, so this is the problem. If the Cardinals want a receiver,
okay,
right, so let's map this out. So you got Marvin Harrison available right there.
Correct.
Somebody's going to grab him. Like if you don't grab him, maybe LA grabs him at 5 to replace Keenan Allen.
You would assume.
And they lost Mike Williams as well. Maybe the Giants. They're in some rumors about trying to potentially get Drake May as well. I don't know if I believe it, but that's a rumor that I saw today. But if you're the Giants, if Marvin Harrison's not there, you might go Neighbors. Or if Marvin Harrison is there, you probably go Marvin Harrison. Tennessee, I feel comfortable thinking that they're going to take an offensive lineman.
Yep.
I think Atlanta, just me thinking, Atlanta probably goes Dallas Turner.
Everyone's saying that, but I haven't. Everyone's saying that at 8, and I think it's easy.
Originally I was going to say receiver, but They picked up Mooney. They picked up Rondale Moore. They still have Drake London. They still have Kyle Pitts. There ain't that much football to go around because you still got handed off to Bijan and Algier as well. So from that standpoint, so like I think the Falcons line is pretty good from what I remember.
They're pretty solid. They
I
can
think
always
that's
be
probably
better. The
it's
guard,
too
they have one good guard. The right tackle is mid at best.
yeah.
But
It's
I don't think
probably
there's a right tackle you take at 8. Yeah.
it's probably too high to go corner, even though I think that the Falcons could use a corner. It's probably too high to go corner there. So if anything, maybe Atlanta could trade back.
If you go edge, because we've seen it before. We think about the Patriots Giants Super Bowl. If you go edge and you can put pressure on the quarterback, your corners, you basically cut their responsibility down by a second.
Right.
So now they don't have to cover for 4.5 seconds.
Right.
Because they got Tom Brady off his spot. Randy Moss should have had 150 yards receiving in that Super Bowl, and they should have been 19-0. But the fact that they were running 6 and 7 defensive linemen at Tom Brady was like nothing you could do.
Right.
So if Atlanta decides to do that, I'm just thinking like if you do that, you got to go all out. But then that gives Chicago room of Dunze at 9.
Well, that's what I was about to say. So Dunze is going to go. So if you're the Cardinals and you trade with the Raiders to get to 13, you're probably going to have to trade up again. That was the point that I was trying to make. These receivers are going to be gone, and you're going to be at a place where the next receiver, it's probably too high to take them in that spot, because the way that I have it mapped out is Arizona taking Marvin Harrison Jr., the Giants taking Neighbors, and then Chicago potentially taking Roma Dunze. So if that happens in that way, if you're Arizona, you crapped yourself out of grabbing one of the 3 best receivers in this draft. If you want to put a weapon next to Kyler Murray. So your next opportunity to get a receiver is probably going to be in the lower third of the first round. So you'd have to trade back again, which is not impossible or not that you wouldn't be willing to do it. I just feel like that's a lot of work to end up with a guy that has probably more questions than the 3 people that I just named. So at that point, I don't know what you're doing unless there's just another receiver that you like that nobody else is talking about. So that's my concern, is if I'm Arizona and do that, I'm stuck with a project at receiver, or I'm stuck with somebody that's not elite at receiver potentially. And I would have to trade back to probably get that receiver anyway.
Yeah.
To be smart, to save the money that, the picks, the money gets lower as the picks go on. So that would be my concern there.
So as the Arizona GM, if you're not, let me think. If you're the Giants and you're offering me a haul and I go from 4 to 6, I'm with it.
Yeah, I can live with that. Yeah.
I don't know what Tennessee really. I know they just signed Ridley.
I think they go lineman. I got Tennessee taking.
But I'm saying if they feel like, you know what, let's get our wide receiver core so stacked that our current tackles. See, I don't know what the rating is.
So it could be the Bengal thing when they took Jamar Chase.
They took Jamar Chase just because, like, listen, we could protect him, or we can give him a guy that he'll get the ball to in 2.5 seconds, because they are on the same wavelength and they have been for the last 2 years. I don't think there's a Will Levis guy available there, but if there's like a talent wise, do you make that call? But like, if I'm Arizona, I'm not going past. Like, Atlanta has no reason to call you. Chicago has no reason to call you. Neither do the Jets. So, best case scenario would have to go.
It would be Minnesota.
Caleb, Jaden, and then New England takes Drake. New England takes JJ McCarthy out of nowhere, and Drake Mays at 4, and the Giants want to move from 6 to 4. Then I'm gonna get a haul, but I don't know. I understand. I don't know. I understand like how JJ went from wherever he was rated to top 5 because the same thing happened with Zach Wilson.
Right,
I'm
and
just
that's the
not
thing.
sure
Like
why
JJ,
you would do that.
so JJ McCarthy's the wild card because I think it's one of those conundrums. Like I think that he's better than a lot of people think that he is because they're just going off of the offense that he was running at Michigan and he wasn't asked to do a lot, so they assume he can't do a lot. I think he can do more, but I don't think that he's also generational or great or he's going to be the guy that turns your franchise around
I
or
just
anything
don't
like that.
understand why. And I've been seeing a lot of memes that are probably on par. They're like, you got Caleb Williams won a Heisman, Jane Daniels won a Heisman, Drake May would have been the number 1 pick last year. Like all these conversations, and then the conversation around JJ McCarthy was like, I haven't seen him do it, but I know he can do it. So it's like, what have you not seen? Like, why didn't he throw? Like where's the big throw? Where's the big play? Where's the Matt Ryan back across the field into the end zone, into the game throw? I know we have overtime or like the end of game against Alabama, but that was it. Like he didn't have anything before then. Like there was no long drive where he was kind of putting the ball in the money. I don't really think there's many games where it was like we have Joe Burrow throwing Justin Jefferson open. We have Joe Burrow throwing Jamar Chase open. We have, like just certain guys making these throws. Like Will Levis, we didn't have any throw, and there's no throw you can remember, like for Will Levis. But Caleb Williams, you've seen him running for his life in USC and throwing off balance on the sideline, right down the sideline over the cover 2 corner, over in between the safety. Granted, it might have been late, it might have been off platform, it might have been off timing, whatever the case may be. But we have that throw. So I know you can make that throw. If I know you can make that kind of throw, I can make sure you lock into the system where you make this throw to the tight end quicker versus trying to get the wide receiver open. But I know you can make this throw. If it goes out, if it goes haywire, if the guard gets beat inside, I know you can roll, scramble, buy time, slide, unconventional throw. I don't know if you have that with McCarthy. And for a team, unless you are, I mean, the teams right now in the top 10 just had bad records. I don't think they're bad teams.
Well, yeah,
I know
Chicago was definitely improved.
Yeah.
They won 7 games, I believe, if I remember correctly. Atlanta was on the verge of making the playoffs at
Yeah, it just
different times.
Ritter was one of those guys that Ritter and JJ McCarthy. I know it's going to sound kind of odd, but they kind of remind me of each other because Desmond Ritter only lost like 1 or 2 games in college,
Right.
and he got Cincinnati into the college football playoff. They lost, but when I went to a Falcons game, Falcons versus Jets, and I'm sitting like row 2 or 3, so like at the end zone. Atlanta's coming that way twice the games. I'm watching the plays. I'm on the Atlanta side. And there was a few plays where he threw a pick, but they got defensive holding because he was throwing at the pitch. But it's just I don't know if he pulls a trigger because they say NFL windows are like this. This is open.
Right.
In college, this is what they were kind of expecting.
Right.
NFL, this is open. Ritter didn't make that throw. I feel like McCarthy is in that position of where he didn't throw the ball a lot in those tight windows because if he doesn't throw it, if he doesn't throw it to that tight window route on 1st and 10, or if it's incomplete, or if he throws a check down, they're going to call a running play on 2nd down. It's going to get them 9 yards.
Well,
And then the ball is going to keep going. So
Ritter,
he never had to make that tight window throw.
Yeah, so I saw Ritter in person as well. Granted, it was towards the end of his rookie season, last game of the season, and I just didn't feel and I know this is one of those intangible things. I just didn't feel the presence. Like I saw someone that wasn't sure of himself. Because like even when like take somebody like Josh Allen, for example, had a pretty bad rookie year. People were like, what is Buffalo doing? Look at his completion percentage. But he looked confident. Like he looked like I belong here.
Yeah, he threw that post with confidence.
Yeah.
It might not have been on time or it might not have been the right read.
Right.
But he let it go.
And that came with reps.
Yeah, Ritter doesn't let it go. So I don't know if McCarthy has the reps like then I think Caleb Williams does. I think Jaden Daniels does. I think Michael Penix does. I think Bo Nix does because they played so much more college football and they played it where I don't know if Bo Nix has ever had a real advantage walking onto the field that was as great as the advantage that JJ McCarthy had. But the running game in Michigan was way better than anybody they played against. And their defensive front was way better than anyone they played against for 27 games. Yeah. I don't think Bo Nix ever walked into an arena like, yo, I have a tangible 10 percentage point, 15 percentage point advantage over the opposing team.
I mean, he definitely played on the most talented team in the Pac-12 for the last 2 years.
Hold on, I'm looking at this.
But Michael Penix was better. Michael Penix was just better than him individually, but Oregon was favored over Washington both times they played this past year. They were favored over them last year, and Penix in Washington won all 3 matchups. So he's the next guy that I wanted to bring up because I keep having this idea, because as I look at the contracts, Geno Smith signed that 3-year, $105 million deal. This is year 2 of it coming up. And so for me, I'm just wondering if I'm Seattle, if it might be time to prepare for life after Geno, or at least have my piece ready for when we move on from Geno. Now? I don't know. I mean, maybe you trade back. It just depends on the tenor of the draft. How's it going? Because there are also rumors that DK Metcalf and Geno don't get along. And there's been some rumors that Seattle might want to get off of DK's contract. I've heard.
Is he on one yet? I don't think he's on one. He's
got a contract. I mean, I don't think he's like breaking the bank or anything like that. But he got.
I'm gonna pull it up right now. But I'm listening. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm looking too. But yeah, basically, like if you are going to do something like that, you just drafted. He got 3 years, $72 million with 58 guaranteed. So yeah, he's not on his, I guess, lack of better words, max contract
for $13 million. Oh, I'm not moving off of that at all.
That's more than that, ain't it?
Wait, no, his Metcalf will earn a base salary.
3 years, 72.
No, check it out.
The base salary is $13 million. Yeah.
$13 million this year. So
but
that's good. That's a good tradable contract, though.
That's what I'm saying. They drafted.
That's tradable.
They drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba last year. So
I'm gonna keep reading into this, but I'm listening.
And I'm only going off of the fact that I heard this is a rumor. I'm not saying that this is what I would do. I'm just saying that this is a rumor that I've heard. And so if that's a thing, if that's a possibility, then why not grab Penix? And then you can come off of Geno this year. Because I'm sure to get rid of some of the dead cap money that trading DK would get you, you just do it. You can stretch it out to like June 1st or whatever it is and lower the cap hit. So that could be a thing. But as I look at it as well, I was trying to figure out where Brock Bowers could go. And he's a wild card as far as he's a tight end, but everybody views him as the next tight end, of that Gronk, of that Antonio Gates. Not that he plays like them, but this is that level of player, So I know I've heard before the Chargers could grab him. I don't know if they would take him that high, But but a lot of people like. I've heard the Jets might be interested in him. Get
Uh,
Aaron Rodgers another weapon.
my mock draft has Brock Bowers going 10, but the Jets, and I'm going to give credit to Nick Wright because he brings up every time I watch the show and they talk about the Jets.
Woo! Yeah.
Their offensive tackle they got from Dallas, Tyron
Uh-huh.
Smith, is injury prone and kind of long in the tooth.
Definitely. Definitely.
So sitting at 10, do you get the second best tackle in the draft?
Well, it depends because
Or
if
do
you're
you
talking about Latham from Alabama, there's some
not?
people there's some people that are saying that they think that he'll end up better than Joel.
Yeah, but I got it. Like I said, I'm using my mock draft because, like I said, we talked about this in the pregame show. We haven't like followed every element of college football, but if I'm looking at the top players, there's an offensive tackle from Penn State, Olu Fasanu,
Yeah.
going to the Vegas at 13. We got another one going 14, Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. He's going 14. Another one, Troy Fontenot. Seems like a bunch of Polynesian guys. Yo, if you want to protect your quarterback, get you a Polynesian guy. Atlanta, get a Pacific Islander, Polynesian offensive lineman, defensive lineman. You're guaranteed 10 years at that position from that guy. Me and Mike talk about it because, like I said, we're stationed in Utah. The BYU offensive line, defensive line, Utah's defensive line, offensive line. If it's 10 players there, 4 are Polynesian or Samoan, 4 to 6. And if you're not 6'4", 3 something, you're probably playing safety or linebacker.
Yeah.
Like, if those schools, Utah, BYU, could get Texas speed wide receivers and a California quarterback, they're gonna win a national championship.
So
But yeah, so like I would if I'm Seattle, like you said, we go back to Seattle.
yeah.
Seattle was 16. If I could move DK, I would because the contract's favorable. He's 13 million this year, 18 next year. I don't know if he holds out with the next team as far as getting a contract.
Right.
But if I'm the Jets, and I got Aaron Rodgers of New York City, bright lights, the Giants are kind of down. I take Brock Bowers and I try to create the greatest show on turf. Granted, it's outdoors, but I'll do that.
I can rock with that.
Aaron
I
Rodgers is not big on like young receivers though, so that's another thing. Brock Bowers doesn't run the correct route on 3rd and 8. You might literally have him out there just blocking for multiple games. So
Yeah.
that's another piece you got to look at because we remember a couple of the last few playoff games that Aaron had lost. And I'm going to say, what game was it?
The San Francisco game, he kept trying to force feed Devontae Adams, and
Or
this
the
the
game
open
where
receiver.
he threw more passes to Aaron Jones than he threw to his young wide receiver core. I think he had the tight end, Robert Tonyan. I think he threw him a lot of passes. So Aaron's one of those guys. I remember what game it was a Monday night game, maybe Monday night game, Chicago, Green Bay. Marquez Valdez-Scantling ran a deep post. I think at that point, New England, pardon me, Green Bay might have been up 14-0, 14-3, something like that. He runs this deep post. He's wide open. It's him, the referee, the end zone, the audience. Chicago defenders are all beat. He dropped it. Instead of Aaron being like, you know what? It is what it is. We're up 2 possessions already. Obviously, my guy can beat you deep on this post. We gonna hit that again later. He snapped that the one strap that he has off. He snapped it off, and then he didn't hit MVS for the rest of the game.
Yeah, sound like Darius Slayton.
So like you gotta like if I'm the Jets, I gotta look at the temperament of my quarterback. I'm going tackle right there. I'm
Okay.
going tackle or interior lineman, or I'm trading back from 10 so I can get an interior lineman because, like I said, I don't want to get this young tight end in there and my 40-year-old quarterback doesn't throw in the ball because we have evidence to support that he will not. Jordan Love had a great season throwing to 3 guys that Aaron Rodgers stopped throwing the ball to in critical moments in football games.
Right. So back to the Arizona thing for a quick second, because I just had a thought about it.
All right.
That could be like we were talking about them potentially trading with the Raiders. You still have Brian Thomas available. I forgot about him. The other LSU receiver who actually led the nation in touchdowns. But I was thinking about, are the Colts in Jacksonville in a race to get him? Because the Colts are at 15.
Paid Pittman. They just paid Pittman a lot of money, so I doubt they're looking for a wide receiver.
I think they need another one.
Their quarterback just got hurt. I know they probably want to keep him in the pocket, so I imagine that either they want to keep him in the pocket or get him short field and bolster the defense.
Yeah, so my original mock draft, I had the Colts taking Jared Verse out of Florida State to get some defensive line help. I had Jacksonville taking A.D. Mitchell, the burner out of Texas, who I'm not sure if he's worth going that high, but since he ran that 40, somebody's going to take the leap.
Probably A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, like the Raiders are a little high because they would normally be the team that grabs the fast guy, but they're probably a little high if they end up staying in their spot. It's going to be. I'm looking for, who's going to be the first corner to get drafted and where, because corner is my favorite position. So
I got Tyrion Arnold to the Colts at 15.
I got Arnold going to the Rams, even though I've heard Cooper DeJean is the preferred pick for the Rams. But that was just something that I was thinking about. I figured Dallas is probably going to go offensive line. Do you think there will be a running back in the first round?
No.
I don't think so either, but I feel like that's wrong. Like I feel like
it's hard for me to I think they'll take a wide receiver that isn't a first round talent. My eyes are shifting to my left because I'm watching the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm still watching Milwaukee and Indiana. I
just feel like, and we talked about this before with NBA GMs kind of drafting to fit the style of the league versus what works best for your team. I think the running back will get ignored because, like I said, you're the GM of the Cardinals. I'm the GM of the Packers. I know if I want a running back, I can get him in the second round.
Right.
Because the likelihood of anybody trying to take, especially if I want a running back, I want the third or fourth running back, I can get him late in the second because I know the Vikings aren't taking one early. I know Philly's not taking one at 22. I know Detroit's not taking one at 29. So if I have a couple of second round picks, I'll squeeze in my running back there.
So there's two teams. There's two teams that I think could use a running back. One is the Chargers, since they lost Austin Eckler.
Correct.
One is Dallas, but I think Dallas just has more pressing needs than to grab a running back. But the difference is that where Dallas picks is more in line if somebody was to take a running back, whereas the Chargers could just wait till later on. But
see, Dallas at 24, they got to replace the tackle.
Maybe Kansas City, but I
think Kansas City likes Pacheco. Shout out to Jerry Pacheco. Shout out to my boy Andre Morgan. He got the contract to do the shirts for Pacheco's parade that they had last Saturday. I'm gonna get his shirts here in a second. Yep, that's my man. Right on time. Yep. So he got the contract for the parade. So Super Bowl champ, like literally linked up with a good friend of mine. This is the benefits and the perks of military connections and keeping them strong, and why me and Mike have had this relationship for this long. So yeah, so he had, he got Isaiah Pacheco, went to Rutgers, South Jersey kid, runs hard. I think Kansas City will probably
Maybe they need a
fill
receiver with this Rasheed Rice drama going on.
the Rasheed Rice drama. Like, yeah, like I said, I beat this ad nauseum. Uh, but I can see the Chiefs going from 32 to 27 to get ahead of Buffalo and taking Mitchell, just to keep him away from Buffalo.
In my mock, I got them staying where they are, but taking his teammate Xavier Worthy, out of Texas.
I don't know if Worthy gets drafted. You can be fast because we saw it with John Ross. He was fast, and if we looked up his stats right now, if you had to guess, over under 65 career receptions for Ross. He broke the record at the combine.
I would say under. I would say under.
You say under, okay. I like,
but really close though. Really close though.
I like AD Mitchell.
Yeah.
Because there's another reason. That's Arizona's second first round pick. And they got him taking Chop Robinson, the edge out of Penn State.
That's why I had him taken too. Yeah.
If Kansas City says, you know what, we want to jump and get a big body wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball up to, you guys can have your edge. We paid Chris Jones. We have our defensive line kind of set. We saw how they dominated the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Maybe we make that move. I don't know if this sounds like a pipe dream, and I don't think Cincinnati would do it. But maybe Kansas City calls Cincinnati and say, yo, what do you want for T. Higgins? I doubt that happens.
I doubt it.
I can see Kansas City saying, you know what? We're back-to-back champs. We paid Chris Jones. Mahomes had a down year per his standards. Do we roll the dice and say we're going to have our defense is going to be a little weaker, but we're going to make a big wide receiver move to compensate for it, to where if we got to win a shootout, if we got to win 31-28, 31-27, we can do that because we have the big wide receiver.
And just in case y'all were wondering, the Indiana Pacers have joined the NBA playoffs. So do you have any sleepers in the draft? Like any players that you're interested in or think that, it doesn't have to be a first rounder per se, but just somebody that you think it's like, yo, that's a good football player, or he's going to be better than projected, or so on and so forth.
I like my Big Ten school. Hold on, here we go. I'm pulling up John Ross stats real quick.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk about my sleepers.
Okay.
Then.
Sorry.
So everybody that has been listening to Sports Reports is Ordered for some time knows how I feel about Michael Pratt at Tulane. So I'm not going to get too deep into that one. But Malik Washington from the University of Virginia, he's only 5'8". I'm sure he weighs less than me. Ran the 4.4 740. He made up 47% of UVA's passing offense last year. The only two receivers in college football last year that had more 20-yard receptions than him: Malik Neighbors and Roma Dunze. So just keep that in mind. Bub Means out of Pitt, wide receiver. Pitt probably had one of the top 5, or I should say bottom 5, worst quarterback situations in college football last year. So I think that's why he's under the radar, because people just didn't get to see him because of their lack of quarterback. But I like him a lot. Audric Estime from Notre Dame. He was the leading rusher in the nation last year. Ran a 4.7 at the combine. Ran a 4.6 at the pro day. But, he falls onto my list as
That
this is just a good
4-6,
football player.
and 4-7 is gonna land him on a good team.
Yeah, but this is just a good football player. And then I got three more for you real quick. Troy Franklin out of Oregon, deep threat. 23 touchdowns, all-time leading receiver in Oregon history. TJ Tampa out of Iowa State. He ran a 4.57. He's a corner, but they'll probably move him over to safety, I'm guessing. Something was going on with him because he comes from what I was reading, he comes from a family of jumpers, but he didn't jump at the combine. So I don't know if he had a hamstring or something. He turned down the Senior Bowl. So that was an opportunity to kind of get on the map. But so I think he's going to go a lot later than his talent, but he'll be a steal for somebody. And then finally, before I throw up in my mouth, we got Carmen Kitchens from Miami. He's the only person in college football that if you combine the last two seasons, he had double-digit picks. So he's the instinctual ball hawk that that will come into the league and I think make life hard for wide receivers. But that's my list.
I like Lad McConkey. I think Lad McConkey going to a team that plays a good
Yeah, I was
that runs a lot
wondering
of
if
pass out of slot. But if we real quick,
I was
John
wondering
Ross
him in
was
Buffalo.
over under 65.
Yeah,
65 career receptions.
yeah.
62.
See, that's what I said, right? Close. I think he was under, but close.
Yeah.
And then I forgot one, Bernardo Green from Florida State. That's my biased pick as a sleeper cornerback. But back
Keon Cole. What we got Keon Cole going? I know Keon Cole.
I got him going second round.
Ran slow, right?
Yeah, I mean, but he's also
he
ran a 4.6, but he's also like Mitchell size, AD Mitchell size.
Like 6'4", 217.
Yeah, like so I don't expect 4.2s out of those guys anyway. I mean, Anquan Bolden wasn't that big as far as 6'4", but he ran a 4.7.
Jerry Rice and Tio both ran like 4.5s or 4.6s.
Yeah, well, Jerry Rice ran a 4.7 as well.
4.6, 4.7. Yeah, I think Tio ran like a 4. Yeah.
So I don't care about
Tio runs a 4.4 right now at 50. You wouldn't line him up in the fucking slot.
There's your 40 time, and then there's time, or there's how fast are you in pads.
Keon Cole looked open every single time the ball came in.
And don't forget, like even though he was 6'4", playing at Florida State with all these athletes, he was the punt returner. So so I don't care about his 40 time, but I think teams will use that to justify picking him later.
That's probably my biggest sleeper because I remember watching the games. I watched the one-handed catch over the middle while being contacted by a safety over the top and a corner underneath, and he held on to the ball.
Yeah, game winner against Clemson.
I think that's the kind of guy because like I said, if you're a GM, and I've made this statement before, I'm not sure they all know exactly what they're doing. I think they either trust the analytics,
right,
or they just go with whoever the most influential scout is.
Right.
But if you just simply look at, okay, does this guy get open? Can our quarterback? Because if I'm any position I'm looking at, I'm not bringing in a scout. The scout has his opinion. I want to bring in the guy who has to work with him. So if I'm drafting a guard, I'm bringing my center and my tackle in, and my offensive line coach obviously be like, okay, does this guy look like he can fit between the two of you? And right. Coach, can you coach him to be in position? It's like, you know what? I like the way he moves. I like this. I like, they can reference other players. Like, oh, I played with this guy back in Denver. He did this. I like what he does there. He seems distinctive. Okay. Quarterback, Keon Cole. Yeah, he ran a 4.6. But look at the separation at the top of the route. If your quarterback likes to throw dig routes or dagger routes, and he can get separation at the top of the route, he was like, oh, this is one of my favorite routes to throw. This guy gets open every single time on these kind of routes, or the choice route or the option routes. Or if you're Kansas City, so much attention is going to be on Kelsey as a tight end. Can this guy run? Because Rashid Rice is one of those guys that ran underneath. Because we talked about it before the playoffs last year. Like he ran underneath it a lot of that, so he was like always available. Some guys want to go deep. Some guys just want to go. They want to throw their hand up. But does this guy like to be in the trenches? Does this guy like to run across the middle?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of go. I don't need you to run. I don't need you to be fast in the middle. I need you to be open.
Right.
I need you to get 10 and in, and let me get the ball on you. Be open, catch with your hands, turn up field.
Yeah. So last night, I was reminded that we're done with the 80s. But as I was watching the NBA playoffs, I felt like I was watching what I was supposed to be watching. No flop,
So?
not a lot of flopping.
Okay.
Not a lot of tic-tac calls. Not a lot of, players doing the D-Wade thing where they shoot themselves out of a cannon with no intention of making a shot and get bailed out by the referee. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like last night was probably one of my best basketball nights in the last couple of seasons. And then LeBron James and Joel Embiid had to get on TV and bitch about the referees and bring me back to why I haven't been enjoying basketball as much as I used to.
I don't think that's the case at all, but I understand what you're listening. I'm listening.
Talk to me.
Yes, and okay. I was texting you about New York's attack of Embiid because Embiid was hampered. He was playing at best 67 to 72%.
Right.
He was jumping for rebounds. He's such a natural shooter of the basketball. If he could just stay healthy, he is unguardable.
You know what's crazy though? So I'm gonna let you keep going, but I just want to throw this out there real quick. So to your point, we were talking about his playoff failures and how he's come up short. These first two games against the Knicks, as unguardable as he is, 20 of 51 from the floor.
He dropped 30. He dropped 30 plus last night.
Yeah, thank God for free throws.
No. Like a lot of it was put up. He was getting a lot of and one free throw attempts. But that's the thing. He didn't do a lot of he wasn't dribbling a lot. He was kind of moping and like laboring and getting the spots and getting the ball, and just he had Hartenstein like on him, and he was getting. I'm gonna count. I could be wrong. I'm gonna say 3 jump shots that went in where he got fouls and got free throws because he wasn't attacking the basket, especially in the second half. That's when I really sat down and started watching the game. Was the second half because I worked all day long, sat down, cooked some salmon, some steak. We ate, we dined. I was drinking some old fashions. So by my second old fashioned, I was hitting you up a lot because I was already 2 sheets to the wind. And I was talking about how Jalen Brunson was having a terrible shooting night.
Oh, speaking of which, first 2 games of the series, my MVP, 18 for 48.
Yeah, last night was not great. I think it was like 8 for 29 or 9 for 28. One of those combinations.
Yeah,
but Hartenstein.
Oh, my bad. I got that mixed up with Jamal Murray. He was 16 for 55.
Okay. In the second half, Embiid was only picking one defensive move. So either he was coming over to help or he was staying to defend, Hartenstein. He didn't do both.
Right.
No matter who was driving to the hoop. So he would pick one thing because Hartenstein was getting like the floater. He was getting left-handed floaters. I think he had like 12 in the third quarter because Embiid couldn't move. He couldn't get to here because he couldn't plant on the left leg and come back. He can get there and get his hands up and be a big body. But if you got the pass through, the big man was open in the paint every time. And I was texting you like, yo, Tibbs, how am I sitting at the crib in Jersey, watching on his TV saying, get Joel Embiid in the pick and roll?
Right.
Because he was trying to avoid it, because if they did it too high up, he just would drop and somebody else will come down. So if it was his guy setting the pick, but it was like early in the shot clock or it was like way beyond the 3-point line, he just didn't move. And the other Philly defender would come up and he would slide over to that guy's guy, because that guy probably wouldn't get the ball. It was like Mitchell or somebody like that, or Mitchell Robinson. So he would slide to that guy. I'm like, yo, put him in it again. But they would get the switch, and then Jalen Brunson trying to shoot himself out of the slump. I'm like, take it to Embiid's chest. He can't move to his left at all. And they never did it. They just got lucky because Brunson's three went in like Kawhi Leonard's jumper back in the day.
When he traveled.
And then, he absolutely traveled. And I get that the end of the game fiasco, and I'm like I said, I'm excited that the refs let it play out. But Maxey traveled when he fell, so that should have been a call.
He was being held too.
I don't think he slipped before he got the ball.
He definitely Brunson.
He was getting touched. He was getting touched.
No,
he didn't get
Brunson. Brunson had his jersey. Like he was like this.
But either way, if you're not going to call that and he falls, you got to call a travel. So you call a travel, and then it's side. But it's like you got to call something there. Like you either got to call a foul or the travel. But since they didn't call anything, now the ball is scrambling. They're trying to call a timeout after the fall, but the ball is loose. The refs not going to give you that. And people talk about Nick Nurse was calling timeout. Nick Nurse did this.
No, the first time he faked it. Like he was like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Then he was like, I got Lowry. He knows Lowry for years from Toronto. He's going to make the right play. And then the pass was bad. And then Maxey, because they're so
ball was fighting, they were fighting for the ball.
They're fighting for the ball. So then they scramble around, and then DiVincenzo shot the first three. Embiid, once again, is hampered, didn't jump for the rebound. Hartenstein got the rebound, kicked it out of DiVincenzo. He shot it again.
He shouldn't even be playing, man.
He is.
I respect it, though. I do respect it.
I respect the grind, but in the same sense, I'm still going to attack it. He can't go left.
Definitely. But I'm just saying, like, just watching it. I mean, no doctor or anything, but just watching it, the way that he can't move laterally and all that kind of stuff.
He's 7'2". He has 0 rebounds in the second.
Like, he looks like Greg Oden out there. You know what I'm saying? Except for his shots are falling. You know what I mean?
And that was the thing. It was like his shots were falling, and I think his shots were falling because they weren't pressuring him at all defensively.
Yeah, they weren't making work for it.
They weren't making it work. I'm like, anytime I see a guy go off the floor and he takes his leg sleeve off and the trainer is working his knee, it's like, hey, Tibbs, someone tap Tibbs on the back. Tibbs. Hey, listen, come here. I know you want to run these guys for 45 minutes, but let's get some fresh big bodies in there and run them at Embiid because he can't move laterally.
And I'm not asking for dirty play. I'm not telling anybody to try to hurt him.
No, just make him move.
But
make him go to the left.
No, be a little more aggressive on those box outs.
I don't even think you need to do that. You don't even really need to do that. You just need to make him move from where he was standing to come out and defend. Because, like I said, when they were doing the pick and roll, they were sending a different guy. Reset it and make it to where he has to come out and either show on Jalen Brunson, blitz on Jalen Brunson, or full-on switch. And now, because Jalen Brunson was switching on Tobias Harris, like he was getting the switch, and he was going one-on-one with Tobias. I'm like, Tobias is healthy. He's 6'8" and healthy. Go after the 7'2" guy who's hampered. Why are you letting him off the hook? And I text you probably like 8 times. Like, why are they letting him off the hook? I'm like, I would make them be putting themselves in a position where, like, do I want the potential jump shot 2 points of Embiid on the offensive end? Meanwhile, I'm giving up 2 points every time someone goes at his chest.
You
or do
know
I want to just put him on the bench?
you know how many shots Tobias Harris took last night?
If I had to guess, 8.
7.
Wow.
You know, so Embiid in the post game where he was talking about the refs, he also might have had his Kobe Bryant 2010 moment. So when I was watching Kobe
Like
Bryant back
planting
in
the seed.
no. When I was watching Kobe back in 2010, they fell down 2-0 to the Mavs. And when he came in the press conference, he said something like, I guess we'll just win in 6 now. And then Dallas came out and won game 3. And then Kobe's like, series going 7. And then of course they got swept. So so last night Embiid, he's like, hey, we're the better team and we're going to win this series. And it's like,
You got 69 points from you and Maxey.
and it wasn't enough. You
It
know,
was it was close, but like I said, even with their 69 points, he was ineffective because it's like there's only so much you can do when your health is not in line.
well,
There's
like
only
last
so
night,
good you can feel. You could want to be the greatest dad ever, and your daughter can want her swing set put up. But if you aren't feeling it, if you're like, I'm too sick to hang this up, you're not gonna get it done on that Saturday. You might have to put a little bit of it up and get it later. No matter how badly Embiid wants to be on the floor, it was clear that they were playing 4-on-5 defensively, and the Knicks and their coaching staff and all those dudes over there in Nick quarter zips, no one told Tibbs or whoever relays the offensive messages scheme, no one said, let's get Joel Embiid in a pick and roll. And
Philadelphia also has to start taking advantage of fast breaks because I think they're so Embiid reliant that they pull out of fast breaks to allow him to get down the court. Or you know what I mean. And in a game like last night, just having 4 more fast break points probably wins you that game. And
but a lot of the fast breaks are led by like your role players, and a lot of role players in tight games, they don't take.
Especially on the
Think
road.
about that. Yeah, on the road, 6 minutes left in the fourth, scores 98, 97. You're down 1. The ball swings to Tobias Harris. Maybe he takes that shot, but in the timeout, they talked about getting the ball to Embiid. That's why in these games where teams are winning, the final score is 128 to 94, is because we'll use Dallas as an example. Say Dallas goes up in this game and they start dominating here in like the second half. Because right now in the second quarter, they're up 4. If they go up like 14, I think PJ Washington takes that 3 if the ball comes to him when he's open. But right now the score is 33-28. If LA comes down the next 2 possessions, ties it up, I don't know if he takes that 3 with the score 33-33. But if they're up 12, he takes it. Hardaway doesn't look for Luka when they're up 12. He just goes to the cup. And I think that's
their league.
So I think that's how like these games get out of hand, because if you think about it, I don't know how much better James Harden shoots than Tim Hardaway if you put both of them out there with just a basketball in their hand.
Well, I think Tim Hardaway probably shoots better, but
if in the warm-ups, if they're standing side by side, like, yo, let's go shot for shot, they probably can knock them down at the same rate. But in the game, who has the green light? James Harden does. Luka has the green light over Hardaway. So Hardaway has a position where, like, oh, I can hit the shot. Like Kyrie just pulled up from 3 off he got a little screen on the elbow. He pulled up from 3. Yeah. I don't think anybody like, I don't know if Hardaway does that same thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Him and Harden, I like it. You know what I'm saying? I like it. Yeah. So as I was looking at it, like you said, Embiid was unguardable. His shot was falling. I mean, he was 8 for 22. You know what I mean? But so it might have just been timing. Like he has definitely closed out the games well. But let's go over to the Mile High City and let's talk
I
about.
didn't like the reversal calls.
I didn't
That
mind the
was
reversal.
I just because first of all, how many challenges do they get? I thought it was one.
I
Did they
thought it
get
was
do they get
two.
two in the playoffs?
I
Because
thought
I
it
thought
was
it was
two.
one all year.
Let's see. Keep going.
Okay, so I thought it was one challenge because Malone challenged twice,
Yeah,
and
so
then
so yeah, yeah. So it's one. You get the second if you win the first challenge.
okay, okay. Well, he definitely took advantage of that. I thought D'Lo getting hit in the face after he let the ball go is still a foul.
I don't like it.
You don't like him getting hit in the face in
No,
a
I don't. I
shooting
don't. I don't. I
motion,
don't. I don't like calling fouls after something happens. So, like, if I block your shot,
but
if
if
we're
if
coming
you
down
block
to
the
the
shot,
floor,
but if you block the shot, you impacted the ball. If I'm letting the ball go and your follow through and your block attempt hits me in the face, that's a foul, in my opinion. If you
no,
hit
I
the
get what you're
ball,
saying. I get what
yeah.
you're saying. I don't think you're wrong per se, but I just don't like it. Like if it
But the
didn't
fact that
happen,
they called the initial contact
you got to stick with it.
marginal,
You got to stick
yeah,
with it.
you called the foul, and then
Right.
you say, well, the initial contact was marginal when there was a like not deliberate, but it was like a very
Right.
apparent arm to the face. A part of that entire process is
You
like,
didn't
okay,
even
well,
review it for a flagrant or anything, apparently.
didn't review it for a flagrant where they normally would. So it's just like that
Yeah.
just felt odd.
Yeah.
Um, the Lakers' problem has been their problem since the 2020 championship, which is they decided that having LeBron and AD was enough and everything else would just work around it. And we saw last night where they don't have anyone else. LeBron goes off the floor. They don't have another guy, even LeBron's on the floor, that initiates the offense. Austin Reeves can put himself in a position to shoot a jump shot. Like he can work. Because a lot of times what I notice is that they they'll work the pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll, and they'll shoot the 15-foot jumper. And then it goes in or it doesn't. So I think it's just a bad setup for the team, but that's what they've been doing for a while. What do you think?
Well, I think I agree with that. Last night made me think of last year, Game 4. That was the game where LeBron had 31 in the first half, and everybody was like, "The King ain't going to get swept. The GOAT ain't going to get swept. This is his last stand." And then the Lakers proceeded to lose that game because they were hitting shots that they don't normally hit in the first half. And in the second half, the truth comes out when the meme gets involved. So like I was talking about Torian Prince. He hit two really big, difficult shots. That's not his game. He's the spot up, hit him in the corner, Bruce Bowen, PJ Tucker kind of guy. He shoots better than them, but that's his role. Versus these two shots that he hit were like off the dribble, 3-pointer, damn near fadeaways. D'Angelo went, started 6 of 7 from 3. Anthony Davis was shooting 91% in the first half. It was just all these things that there was no way the Lakers or anybody could sustain this. So, and that's why, as far as talking about referees, I don't support it because, for one, you had a 20-point lead with those same referees. You know what I mean? For two, Denver and Jokic is just, they just don't panic. Like, the only reason you were up 20 is, outside of those things that I was talking about, is because Jamal Murray was taking some of the dumbest shots I've ever seen a player of his caliber take. Jokic is not the type that's going to scream and yell. He's not going to put his head down and pout. He's just going to say, I'm going to grab this rebound and we going to go. He had a triple-double with 20 rebounds. He was like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? And this is what the Nuggets do because the Lakers get lackadaisical and they give up too many backdoor cuts, or they start taking dumb shots because the fool's gold. The
The
shot was
crazy part about the Lakers, they were up 20 and still didn't score 100 points.
right.
It just like I said,
They
it's
can't
because
shoot. They
they
still
can't
shot better than Denver though.
they be like I was saying that AD was hitting a lot of fall away left-handed runners and floaters. Like you said, he was shooting like 91%. And I get you're not going to shoot 91% the whole time, but I'm sick of James Harden with this move where he's like sticks his feet out. And
I'm just sick of James Harden.
you guys got to just don't close out. Just let him shoot that jumper. Just don't close out. Just let him shoot it. Like, are you watching it? Look,
Yeah,
fix
yeah, I'm
up.
watching it.
Nah, that's not a foul. That's not a
Right.
foul.
That's
Man.
why you gotta. That's why this is where people should be talking to the refs. Like, this is the type of stuff because y'all been letting this man manipulate the league for like damn near 15 years.
He's done it 3 times since this game's been on.
But what I don't like about it is,
I think the replay center and Nick, shout out to Nick Wright. I want to give him credit. Like I watch a lot of Nick Wright, and we talked about this before. He said, I think LeBron has hated the replay and the replay process ever since game 1 of the 2018 finals, where he took the charge on Kevin Durant. He was clearly outside the restricted area. It wasn't even a question if he was close. They reviewed it to see if he was outside of restricted area. He was, and then they changed it to a block.
We done
so
LeBron.
I think so. I think it was like he said he might be done with the replay center ever since then. And like I said last night, like I personally feel like the replay the D-Lo foul, and I think it was another one I can't remember, but the D-Lo one that really comes in because it's like,
well, I know there was a foul that LeBron wanted. They reversed the LeBron call. Remember early in the game where LeBron did his signature. I'm gonna throw my shoulder into you, and I'm way stronger, and I'm gonna knock you on the ground. But somehow they're gonna blow the whistle and give me the foul. And they reversed that. So he was probably upset about that too.
They reversed that, and then they reversed the D-Lo one where he got hit in the face. So it's like, I get, but the fact that they said the contact was marginal is like, what? So is that where you rate all of your foul calls? And for them to say it both times, and that's the thing is like, come on, man. Like, you said the first thing was marginal. Okay, cool. We'll live and die with that. But the second one, my guy got hit in the face on the follow through on the block attempt. So it wasn't as if the shot went up and Porter went to turn to get the rebound and he hit him in the face. It was a follow through of the attempt of the block of the shot that hit him in the face. So the contact on the floor, was marginal, but his attempt at the block hit me in the face. So how do you reverse that? You would never reverse that throughout the season. Looks like we got a little technical difficulties. Mike should be back here shortly. I thought his face was a little weird when he was just staring at me. But I guess it's the Raphael, Mr. Logical show. But like I said, as we keep recording, as we're still live, that was the issue with the call. The call wasn't a matter of, oh, I'm LeBron, I should get this call. Is the fact that any other time of the year you would make that call, it would have stand. It would stand because he followed through, hit him in the face. That's the foul, even though the ball is in the air. So, by that logic, a jump shooter shooting the ball comes down to the ground and you hit him with a little chicken wing. It's like, oh, well, the ball's gone, so it's not a foul. That was the issue that came about with the LeBron. He's probably going to get fined. It's been about 24 hours. I haven't seen anything pop up about a fine, but I imagine that a fine is coming. Probably in the world of $25,000, $15,000 to $20,000. Joel probably get $15,000 to $20,000. Because you can't always blame the refs, but you can highlight a couple plays here and there. Philly's problem is that I don't know if their third guy gets active when he needs to get active. The Lakers' problem is the same way. It's like D-Lo catches fire, but when it comes to just making smart basketball play, getting points where you don't go 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 possessions in a row without any points. So you need to get that part squared away. Especially considering that D'Lo was drafted second overall as a point guard. He was like the anomaly. He was like 6'5", 2'6", 6'5" point guard. He was supposed to be like that new wave of point guard in the elk of Anthony Hardaway, Penny, but it just didn't happen that way. The Lakers are already fighting uphill anyway, playing in Denver. That 5280 on the front of their jerseys, that's the mile high, so it's 5,200. So 5,280 mile or feet up is a mile. So playing at elevation is different. Like I said, I was in Utah. We're at like I think we're close to 5,000 feet. Me and Mike, we went to NCOA in Peterson, Colorado, which was close to like maybe 6,000 feet. Just that difference is drastic. Granted, these are prime NBA athletes, but in the same sense, it still takes a toll on you. And then having Jokic, a big body, plays smart, 25 plus points, 20 plus rebounds, 10 assists is only like the eighth time this happened to where a guy had that stat line of 25, 20, and 10, triple double in the playoffs. He has four of them. So the Lakers are overmatched, but as far as for this game, they had an opportunity. Those no calls, the reversal calls. Excuse me. See if I can get Mike back on the line. But as we look at the playoffs, as they're still currently playing out, Indiana tied the series with Milwaukee. I believe they had a nice blowout win against Milwaukee. They're going to need Giannis back. Maybe you're not rushing back. It kind of aligns with the Dallas Clippers series with Mike saying, I would make you beat me to where I had to play Kawhi. I don't know if Milwaukee had that same kind of mindset, but they did have an opportunity to really put their foot on the necks of Indiana in game one with Dame with 35 in the first half, and they went completely passive in the second half. As far as from Dame, I think Doc Rivers is going to put Milwaukee in position where they're not going to make it out of the first round. So if I got a guy that got me 35 points in the first round, a guy that scored 70 in the NBA game as recently as last year, guys closed out two NBA playoff series with game-winning three-point shots. I'm riding him and have everybody jump in the backpack with him. But for some reason, Doc Rivers went the complete opposite approach. Like, let's get everybody involved. Like, everybody don't need to be involved. We're already up double digits. I got my best player who's prime, Dame time, big time moments. And he doesn't get any points in the second half. So that's indicative of what Doc Rivers is going to do. I can't see a scenario where he has his job next year if they lose in the first round. Watching Phoenix lose to Minnesota was a conversation me and Mike were having earlier. He's like, I'm not sure how Phoenix wins their games. Neither am I. I just kind of think that they are fortunate to have Booker and KD and Bradley Beal, guys who just scored a bucket. And Nurkic knows his role. He tried to overplay his role. It was like trying to back Gobert down. He was losing the ball. And I get that they're trying to show a different identity, but I'm like, I would just ride my Phoenix big three and see what we could do from there. Watching this Dallas Clippers game looks competitive. Like I watched a lot of the games. When I watch them on mute. Luka just shot a 29-foot three. Looks like they're trying to go 2 for 1. So as it sits right now, Dallas up 45-41. James Harden with the ball. 16 seconds left in the game or in the half. 6 seconds left on the shot clock. Harden shoots, misses. Ball to Luka. 5 seconds. And looks like he's not going to get it. Oh, he got the shot off and no good.
That's crazy how my internet died and I'm still like 16 seconds ahead of you.
Chaos, right?
Yeah, so technical difficulties, y'all. Sorry about that. Let's
I
wrap
held
this thing up.
it down now.
But you know, but like with LeBron, right? Like I think the thing that bothers me though is that we always talk about how teams, generally, not always, but teams reflect their best players. Like you know, like the reason that Tim Duncan or the Spurs work is because Popovich can talk to Tim Duncan and make Tim Duncan respect him, or and so if you're a lesser player, you can't go against the grain because Timmy is taking it. Or same thing with Tom Brady. Like Bill Belichick might make Tom Brady run a lap. You can't complain if Tom Brady's doing it. That's my
Correct.
problem. That's the problem that I've always had with LeBron is that like not only are you the leader of the team, the overarching shadow, but you're the face of the league as well. Like if this was just a back and forth game and these things happened in a vacuum, I get how frustration can be a thing. Like when Cam Newton didn't want to talk after the Super Bowl, I can get how that could be a frustrating moment. And you're human, you know. Let's not lose, you know, fact of that.
Yeah,
But y'all had a
these are
20-point
human
lead.
athletes playing a great game.
Y'all
Yeah,
y'all
and
y'all had a
y'all
20-point
lost a
lead,
20-point lead. But in the
and
same sense, if I'm a player, if you're going to go to replay and change these calls and say marginal contact or this or that, whatever the case may be, if you're going to be that meticulous from a referee standpoint, then you should be that meticulous when you're making your call, or you should be that definitive. So it's like either you're going to be right and you're going to make the call, you're going to call it as you see it on the floor, or you're gonna let the replay center do it. So what? So like in that case, like, listen, are you gonna be? Are you gonna run the floor here, or are you gonna just make these calls and then let someone in Secaucus, shout out NBA.com, trying to get hired? Are they gonna? Are you gonna let them look at the video and send you the message and say, "Oh, this is the actual call"? So I understand the frustration considering that, but in
I
the
don't
same sense,
understand the
he just missed.
frustration. I don't understand the frustration when your team shot 659 more free throws than any other team in the league. Like
That's over 2 years. But
still,
that's
still
neither
that
here nor there.
that
That's
goes.
neither here.
No, it is
That's
here or
neither here
there.
nor there.
No,
If
because you
no,
can't. Don't try to paint it.
in this game,
Don't try to
no.
paint
I'm
it
not saying
as
like
if the
you're
refs
not
have
getting
some kind
foul
of
calls.
bias against you.
It's not about the bias. It's the fact that if you're going to call, if you're going to reverse calls, if you're going to be this focused on these calls to this level of attention, then you have to give the attention in the live action plays as
But there
well.
were
If,
challenges though. Like you have
like
to.
for instance,
You're
if you
going to
let
pay
them
a
play,
challenge extra attention.
if you're gonna let it play out, then let it play out. But if you're going to say something, like I said, this I think the statement that they made as far as the contact being marginal, but yet you would call a foul any other time throughout the game with that same level of marginal contact. So it's like, are you? Did you call it? Did you reverse it because it was slowed down, or because, like I said, whatever slap on the wrist, it happens
I
every
think
play.
the hit in the face.
Everyone's getting bumped and slapped and everything else, but it's like
So going
if
back
you're
to
gonna
D'Lo
call
real
a definitive, if you're gonna call a foul in 4 minutes into the third quarter where it was marginal contact and you called the foul and that guy got free throws, Lakers or
but
Nuggets.
yet you ain't got no problem with superstar calls.
No, listen, I didn't. I'm not trying to. It's not from my vantage point. It's from. I'm trying to give a perspective of
No,
what he
but
was
like
saying.
with the D'Lo thing, because that's the one that I think
That's the
like
big
like he
piece because
specifically brought that up.
that's the
Well, I know,
foul
but check it
all
out.
day
The way
long
that
anywhere
the
on
way that
earth.
I look at it, the way that I look at it is if it happened. So the way that I remember it happening, I'm going off of memory. The way I remember it happening was ball came out. It was like a huh slap. It wasn't instant like
It
balls out
was
foul. Like you know what I mean? Like
it was like this.
so
D'Lo's left-handed. He's coming up the left side of the paint. He's shooting the left-handed floater. Porter's got him on low with the elbow, which is
right.
a foul every time. And I think that's what LeBron is saying. Like, listen, you called that foul early in the game on the opposite end. You called it
But
for us earlier.
the refs are human too.
once again, so you called that foul without a replay and gave guys free throws on each end of the floor, probably all game long. But when it goes to replay, now all of a sudden you're dissecting how much the contact is. Okay, cool. You want to call marginal contact. But the only reason Porter is swiping at D'Lo's face is an attempt to block the shot. Mm-hmm. So if on the follow through, in slow motion, it looks like this: boom, boom, shot, arm. But that's all part of that defensive posture he had from the free throw line to the rim. So that's the argument.
Continuation, basically.
If you're like you. If there was no review, that call would have stood because he hit him in the face. The review doesn't take away the fact that he hit him in the face. And the review, in this case, they actually did say, well, it was marginal contact on the body. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, you didn't say anything about him getting hit in the face. They didn't even say, oh, the ball was released. And they didn't even mention that. They just talked about that lower, like the contact with the elbow.
And that's why I was saying they didn't even review it for a flagrant.
They didn't review it for a flagrant, which they would have in December. I think that was the piece, is like you've called that straight up all game long as a foul for each team. AD got called with that at some point. I'm pretty sure LeBron cut with his fouls. Caldwell Pope got called one of these fouls. Like everybody got called for that kind of that bump as the guy's going to the hoop foul. Mm-hmm. But when it goes to the replay center, now all of a sudden the parameters are different. And that, granted, yeah, you get a couple of free throws, maybe you go up 5, you go up 6, it changes, and you end up losing by 2 on a great shot by Murray. And I understand that. But if the expectation is that's a foul all day long, unless the replay center comes through, I can get that frustration. With Joel Embiid, I don't think there was a foul. They talked because he said he tried to call a timeout, which he didn't.
No, he didn't. No.
He said that's what I'm saying. So he made up stuff.
Right. Go back when we're done. Go back and watch it. They definitely had Maxi's jersey.
But Maxi also threw an elbow to get space.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's like. But that's what I mean. If you
playoff basketball, right?
If just in general, if you don't call it either way, I'm good. But if you call that elbow all game long, and then in that last second he throws the elbow, it goes to review, and then you call the tug on the jersey, but not the elbow. That's the problem.
But you also can't be the dude that gets away with playing running back 95% of the time. And you're complaining about the referees.
Like I said, he had a legit complaint. He
did, and so does everybody that he elbows in the face.
Okay, so because because he has a legit complaint, then that's all that matters. It doesn't matter the history of him.
It does matter. So if I get an advantage 95% of the time, you know what I'm saying, and I bitch the 5% that the advantage wasn't in my favor, you're going to say to me, come on, Mike, you know that you got that like 95% of the time, man.
No.
That was the one time it didn't work out in your favor.
If you speed 95 days out of 100 days on your way to work, if you speed every single day, and no day on at 5 out of 100 days, 5 days you get traffic tickets, you're not going to be like, well, I do get away with this 95 days out of 100. That. You'd be like, I got 5 speed tickets? Really? Why did I get 5 speed tickets?
I would be like, I was going to get caught eventually.
Not 5.
No,
not 5 times. That's what I'm saying. Like, you get what I mean? Like,
you're doing too much right now.
Yeah, you get what I mean. Though it's like it doesn't matter if he gets,
argument.
we know LeBron does get hacked. He does initiate contact. Absolutely. He's bigger than most of the guys who guard him. Absolutely. But probably about 20 or 30 pounds. Absolutely. He uses his body to create contact. Absolutely. But he does get charge calls called on him. But he wasn't talking about a call on him. I know he was complaining about the little swipe.
He even brought that up.
Because he was thinking the same thing as you. Was like, what are we doing? But maybe it's calculated because Phil Jackson used to do
Yeah,
this a lot too.
yeah, we talked about that the other day.
It's just
Yeah.
some guys just know how to work it. But in this particular
All I'm
instance,
saying is I'm good with
I
playoff basketball.
I'm good with playoff basketball, but I'm not good with the review call and then the explanation afterwards.
I
That
can
was
live
the
with that.
problem.
I can live
Is the
with that.
fact that they said marginal contact each time, but meanwhile, if there were 35 foul calls in the game, they're all probably marginal contact, or 12 of them were marginal
Right, right.
contact that didn't get
It's
reviewed.
like how you could call holding on every play. I get
You
it.
call hold on every
Yeah.
play, but if you got to review the holding call and the referee said, well, his jersey was only a couple of inches off his shoulder pad, it's like, is it holding or not? And I think as a player, someone who especially in that game, LeBron, D'Lo, Jamal Murray, Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, they probably all had different fouls called on them that they felt weren't fouls, and they went to the ref, and the ref said something. I'll give you a prime example, like real quick, and then we'll get out of here. So my son, like I said, my son played freshman basketball. They played in this school, and it was the other team. They were working like this motion offense where they were like doing a lot of dribble handoffs at the top of the key. So the handoffs, the guys were coming off of like pin downs. So they were like coming off getting like these handoffs. And I'm like, yo, they're traveling every time they get the ball. Every time they get the ball, they're traveling. I'm like, yo, number 14, every time he starts his dribble, he starts it with two hands. Every time, no matter where he gets the ball. Or they'll stop the ball like 12 feet from the 3-point line to set up their offense. And the guy's like moving both feet. So the ref comes over and I'm like, yo, are you going to call these travels? He's like, man, if I called every travel, we'll be here all day. But he was like, if it doesn't give him a competitive advantage, I'm not going to call it. I'm like, so one of the moms like, so what's the difference between a travel and a competitive travel?
Well, that's what I was going to bring up before.
Like, if it's a
I know
travel, call it a travel, and that way they'll stop traveling. We'll stop screaming from our end of the thing. Is like literally these dudes were like doing electric slide.
That's something that LeBron and Westbrook do a lot when they.
But what I'm saying is like
they don't never call it.
But the ref said it to us like that's because it doesn't give a competitive advantage. So if you're a defender and you get a foul called on you, and Aaron Gordon goes over to Scott Foster, whoever the referee was last night, and he's like, yo, what am I supposed to do when LeBron's putting his shoulder into my chest? And you're like, oh, well, you can't do this. And then later on, the review happens. You didn't do what he told you not to, but yet they still give you the foul call.
It on you anyway.
And you're like, yo, you told me not to do that. And I think that's the progressive piece, the mic'd up stuff that we don't hear.
I think some of it boils down to, remember, we talked about this as well. A lot of things changed after the All-Star game. Like during the regular season and the early part of the season, they were calling the tic tacs, they were letting the flops go, they were doing all this stuff. Silver got pissed about the All-Star game, and then
he sent the message. I don't care because even like I said, my dad hit me up. He was like, "What's up with these scores?" I'm like, "Man, Adam Silver is pissed about the All-Star game."
Yeah, and so I think that this is still, unfortunately, this is still a lingering effect of that as well. Where the refs are just on a different time right now, and like they say, players got to adjust. You know what I mean? But you, as the face of the league, best player in the league, in conversations for the greatest of all time, I just feel like you do that more behind the scenes than in the press conference.
Nah, you do it publicly. You Phil Jackson, Zen master the move. Personally, I don't think they're gonna get
Phil was a coach though. That's different.
But Phil knew how to influence. Kobe did the same thing. Kobe knew how to use influence. Shaq did the same thing.
But if I was a ref, that wouldn't influence me. That, like, if it was like, I would just be like, motherfucker, as much as we let go with you, you gonna come out here and talk about us like this?
And maybe it will backfire. Maybe it won't. I mean, the way the Lakers
play, either way, but
the way the Lakers play as is, they play closer to the bucket. They're 15 feet in for most of their shots, unless it's a wide open three. Anyway, they're pulling up, so they're probably going to get more foul calls, or they're going to get a consistent number of foul calls. That they got 1 and 2. It's just the issue was like, I think the replay center,
right,
and then their explanation was like, yo, this doesn't make any sense. And I can understand that piece. What Joel Embiid was saying as far as like calling the timeout, he didn't call the
Yeah,
timeout.
he lied. Nick
We have
Nurse
video of
called the
Nick
timeout.
Nick Nurse had his hand in the air, and then when Maxey travel, because when you fall to travel, then they try to call a timeout while the ball is scrambling. And then on top of that, you had an offensive rebound opportunity that he didn't get because he couldn't jump.
Right.
So there's way more elements in that one sequence.
And
But like I said, you're going home. Both teams are going home. You got an opportunity to make up for it. You did let a game slip. I think both teams. It could be one of those going back to that 2018 NBA Finals when J.R. Smith grabbed that rebound and didn't put it back up, and they went to overtime. It was like, I don't know if these underdogs could ramp it back up.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I think that, but coming into the series, I had Nuggets in 5. But after last night, the only way I can see the Lakers winning a game is if, cover your ears.
7 for 9 again.
No, cover your ears. Like if we have one of those games where the Lakers shoot 31 free throws and Denver gets like 5. You know what I mean? That's the only way that I see the Lakers getting a win.
That's going to be tough because Denver plays inside out just as well as any other team not named LA. Yeah,
I know, but we've seen it before. Like,
not a team that plays inside
Denver,
out.
But I'm just saying, we've seen games where we're like, how did that team only get whatever number of free throws? We've seen it before.
Oh, you're talking about the Raptors coach when he's talking about how he only got 2 free throws.
Yeah, like we've seen it before. You know what I mean? And then as far as Philly goes, if I'm Philly, I'm not hanging my head just yet. You know what I mean? I mean, you literally had the game won last night, and you just miraculously found a way to lose that game. They were at 5 with about 20. They were at 5 with like 20. Yeah.
They were up 5 before Jalen Brunson let that ball go.
Right. So like and game 1 came right down to the wire as well. Whereas if you're the Lakers, Denver came back from double digits in both games and broke your heart.
Derrick Jones is not a smart basketball player.
And then I'm happy on a good note because they always tell us to end on a good note. I am happy that Jalen Suggs is okay. I was a little scared when he was getting carried off the court and everything like that. But sounds like he's going to play just a strain. He's going to play game 3. Not that it matters anyway. Cleveland's going to win this series. Like I said, I think they're just a mirror image of each other. But Cleveland has the player that Orlando doesn't.
Boston's going to be the most rested finals NBA team ever.
Yo, Boston, and I know everybody's going to say they took their foot off the gas and all that. Boston had a 34-point lead, and it was
cut to 16.
It got cut to 10. It got cut to 10 with the starters. Yes,
the starters went back on the floor.
Yeah, with about 3 minutes left. You know what I mean? And I feel you, Moody. I feel you, Buckeye. I feel you, man. But
that does hurt. That's how I felt with the Haney Garcia fight. I was like, I think Haney's got this.
That's how I felt. That's how I felt with J. Cole.
I was about to turn the TV off, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stay up. And then Ryan said, you know what? Because Haney was keeping the hand up. He kept it right here after he got that first one, and then slowly started doing this. I was like, somebody better tell him. And he's wearing thick ass Fear of God sweatpants shorts.
But yeah, that's how I felt about J. Cole. Saying he was talking about this Falcon 9 gonna fly. I was ready, and then I woke up and I saw I don't want to do this no more. So I know exactly how you feel. But Joe, we will be back Thursday. It will be draft night finally. It's not a myth. It's not a dream. It's really happening. We will be here. We'll be here putting on for grandma. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We might have a throwback or 2 on or something, and we'll see you then. We love you. Thanks for all the support. Like, review, subscribe. Do all the good things because it's free. And
Absolutely.
it keeps
Appreciate
it
everybody
free.
staying with us this long time through the technical difficulties. 2-hour show.
Yes,
As we
sir.
get closer and closer to football season, our episodes will be longer. We're, try to keep it short. We just had a great conversation there. Like me and Mike talked for like an hour before.
Yeah.
So this could have easily been a 3-hour session, but we talked before about, a myriad of topics. But yeah, so
for sure. I got some editing to do. So
I'm just gonna leave it in. I kept going. Just leave it in.
Oh, okay. You left it. Well,
Yeah,
I
just kept going.
I gotta make sure it stayed though. So we gotta.
Okay, it still said live, so yeah, we're good to go.
So we'll check it out. But Joe, thank you everybody. See you on Thursday. We love you. Be safe out there. You know what I'm saying? You heard what Mr. Logical said. Even if you get pulled over, said if it's 5 times out of 100, don't complain.
Don't complain. No, I said absolutely complain.
Oh, absolutely complain.
Absolutely complain.
Peace, y'all.